There's food right there.
This is not about me. This isn't about ego. This is not about filling this room up to make me feel good. It's not about head count. None of that really matters. What really matters to me is getting a bunch of people in our community together so that myself and the amazing speakers that get to present can pour into you guys. Because I know firsthand how challenging it is to be a father and a husband and a business owner and a mentor and all those hats that we wear. And all we do all day long is just pour out into everything that we do. And candidly, it's exhausting sometimes. So this idea is not something that's unique to us. I would love to say I emulated what was happening down the road. I stole it verbatim, like the name, everything. And ironically, after we did the first one, we put handouts out for the second one, and the gentleman that started or founded the initial development day was here and saw the handout, and Brad was like, oh man, I love this. I was like, yeah, I don't know where this idea came from. The name, everything just hit me. And so we laughed, and he was like, no, I love that you're doing this because I think it's just so important for us to take our talents and the amazing people in our network and share with others. So thank you so much for being here. My one request, if you love what you get out of this, is to bring somebody next time. If you don't, and you're like, this was a waste of my time, don't feel obligated to come back. It's not going to hurt our feelings. It'll just teach us that we need to do better. So with that, though, please RSVP for these as well. It's not, for me to see how many people are coming and get excited about it. It's actually to help Sam and myself make sure we have enough food, make sure we have enough seating, because we get a bunch of last-minute sign-ups. It makes it challenging, but luckily some didn't show, so we've got plenty of room. Other than that, I'm really excited about today. And before I get into introducing this amazing individual in my life, Jake, on the way over here, which is very unsafe, I put together these 5 stories for us. And as I was reading through them, man, they really connected with me. And I think you'll understand why, as we navigate through them. But they're about 20-second reads. And instead of me just continuing to babble on and on, I'm actually calling some of you guys, if that's okay, to read these for us. So Jarvis, if you wouldn't mind, if you could tackle the first one.
All right, it says the operator who couldn't let go. There was this operator who built an 8-figure business from scratch. He was the guy with all the answers, all the pressure, all the weight. He made every decision, kept every plate spinning, always on, always grinding. People respected him, but behind closed doors, he was drowning. What no one saw was his addiction to control. It wasn't just about business, it was about safety. He grew up in chaos, and controlling everything around him was how he survived. He thought he had a systems problem. What he had was an emotional bottleneck. When he finally faced that, he let go, trusted his team, breathed for the first time in years, and the business has scaled bigger and faster than ever.
Does that resonate with anybody? Nick, do you mind reading the second one?
I thought you were calling me out for the first one.
No. Oh, don't worry. There's a great call out at the end.
We're going to have a talk after this. Put me out there. All right, the sales guy who couldn't stop proving himself. He was a machine, crushed his targets, closed deal after deal, always on top. But if you got close enough, you could feel it. He wasn't just performing, he was proving. Every win was a way to outrun the fear that deep down he wasn't enough. His drive didn't come from purpose, it came from pain. But then he started asking better questions. Faced the stories he was telling himself, did the internal work, and suddenly he didn't need to win to feel worthy. He still crushed it, but now from a place of peace, not pressure.
Resonate with anybody?
Oh, you got it.
Oh, man. Keon, you mind reading the third one?
Yes, sir. The entrepreneur addicted to chaos. Every week, a new idea. Every month, a new offer. Every day, another fire to fight. From the outside, this guy looked like pure hustle. But what was really going on was that he didn't know how to be still. Calm felt foreign. Focus felt boring. He needed chaos to feel alive. Eventually, he learned that was a trauma loop. His body had been running on fight or flight for years. When he finally slowed down, when he healed his execution got tighter, his decisions got clearer, and his business exploded with less effort. The addiction to movement got replaced with momentum.
Lloyd, you do the fourth one.
The man who hid in his business. He built empires, created jobs, generated millions, led people well. But when he went home, he was a ghost. He poured into work because it was easier than facing disconnection in his marriage. Told himself he was being a provider, but the truth was he was hiding from vulnerability, hiding from the fear that if he really opened up, he might get rejected. Eventually, he chose to face it, he healed, he led it home. And the most unexpected thing happened. His business got better too, because he stopped compartmentalizing his life and started showing up as a whole, powerful, integrated man.
Do I have any men in here that can say amen to that? Hey, Luke, do you mind grabbing the last one? It's a shame if you know me, I'm going to call on you. So,
The man who built muscle to feel safe. He lived in the gym, disciplined, ripped, respected. But that body wasn't just built for health, it was built for protection. He was the fat kid growing up, the one laughed at, overlooked, picked last, and he swore he'd never feel weak again. So he went to war with his body. Started with food binging for comfort, then purging for control, then bodybuilding for armor. But no matter how cut he got, he still felt like that small bullied kid inside. Until he stopped trying to impress and started trying to heal. That's when the weights got lighter, and the man underneath the muscle finally felt strong. True power isn't built with reps, it's built with identity.
now, out of those 5 stories, did any of those resonate with anybody in here? When you say aye? Aye. Right. Here's the crazy part. All 5 of those stories are me. Every one of them. And what seems great from the outside looking in is like, man, they're doing all the things, they're checking all the boxes. But you can do all of that and still be so broken. And with that, about 16 months ago, I was like, man, I cannot keep doing this. I was just reliving the same 6 months over and over and over and trying to climb this success ladder that all of us aspire to do. And I kept climbing the rungs and I was just fucking broken. And Jake reached out to me, December of 23. And, you know, we all get these like sleazy DMs and it's like, all right, what are you trying to sell me? So Jake reaches out, I look at his profile, I'm like, he seems pretty normal. And we started connecting. He's asked me about golf. What Jake didn't know is I hate golf because I played baseball and hockey and those mechanics are not in alignment with golf. So I've got the world's worst slice. And then I get in my own head because I'm super competitive. But we kept having conversation and I was like, well, he seems real. So I did what any adult would do. We went on a play date. And we went and had lunch together. And I left that lunch with Jake asked some of the most profound questions that most people just don't. And they were deep questions. And it started to get me to go down this journey of trying to, I don't know if unpack's the right word, but trying to get a deep understanding of all of these things in my life that I'm doing that look good were just armor and a shield to keep all this pain out. And I didn't realize I wasn't looking for abundance in my life. I was looking for safety. That's what it really came down to. And so Jake and I kept having conversations. And then ironically, about 6 months ago, I hit a wall. Everything around me was crashing down. And Jake had shared with me at one time, he's like, you know, it's not if we're ever going to work together, it's just when. Because at some point, all men either come to me when one of 3 things happen, death, disease, or divorce, and one of those things you don't come back from. And I was like, oh, shit. And so, and at this time of my life, I reached out, and I was like, well, Jake, I think 2 of them are happening right now. And so he had given me a book when we first met, and he's like, I think you need to read this. This is going to be your survival guide, and I'm here for you if you need me. So I went to lunch, and I shared the deepest, darkest things in my life, which I think most people would be like, oh, you're not what I thought you were, and I will reject you. And Jake just embraced it. And that meant the world to me. And through that journey, I've probably never shared this with you, Jake, but honestly, I would have probably checked off the 3rd box, which is I wouldn't be here today. And I thank you so much for those lunches, the barbecue, the Mediterranean, and the podcast that we've done. And with that, guys, I would love to introduce you to Jake Kauffman, my friend, a mentor, and an amazing leader.
Performance is the calculus that the ego best understands. Just got to do more. Just got to work harder. Put in more reps. I've come to realize that unconscious enslavement looks like constantly needing to be better. Because if that's not a hamster wheel or an endless loop, I don't know what is. It's written all throughout these pages, no? Right. It wasn't actually about being or becoming something. In reality, it was about running from something. Foremost, including everyone in this room, free will is an illusion. The truth is that we are all victims to unconscious forces directly tied to our upbringing and those consequences. Anyone familiar with Carl Jung in here? Okay, a couple people. You're probably familiar with this quote if you're not familiar with him, but he once said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will continue to run your life and you will call it fate. Which is why I created, well, this is a program. Next slide. I don't have the clicker, it's right here. That's why I created the belief shift. The belief shift is a step-by-step process that I use to support my clients in creating alignment between their subconscious beliefs and their conscious desires. Because the reality is that everyone in here has a core belief that holds them back from performing at their best. It's just a question of what is that belief? And Dustin spoke to this perfectly, what is it tied to? Is it because you were the fat kid growing up? That you were laughed at, overlooked, picked last? Swore to yourself that you would never feel that way again? When it comes to coaching, my partner and I, Carrie, right here, we talk a lot about the fact that most people, they think they can intellectualize healing. And by they, I mean, right, the ego, the part of your psyche that seeks to maintain the status quo. The best way for it to do that is to hide the truth from you. Right? Take this core belief that you have about yourself, other people in the world that dictates how you show up, how other people perceive you, what you believe you are worthy of, and put it deep into your subconscious. Right? So that it can keep you what? It can keep you safe. It can keep you in the space of your comfort zone. Which is why most people, right, they continue to live out the same 6 months, the same year, over and over and over again, and then they call it a life. Right? When it comes to growth, unfortunately, and this is not a knock on anybody in here, please do not hear this, most of it is just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. It's teaching people how to cope, right? The unfortunate reality is that we cannot modify, well, and let me ask you, who in here would like to grow and be a better, more optimized version of themselves? Awesome. Yeah, I figured that's why you're here, right? The reality is we cannot optimize for a behavior at the level of behavior. I'll say that again. We cannot optimize for a behavior at the level of behavior. Every single behavior that I have is driven by what? It's driven by a belief and reinforced with identity. Who I am. How many people walked into this room, introduced themselves to someone new, and one of the first things that you were asked is, what do you do? right? I had the privilege of leading a men's event this past weekend, and one exercise that we did was we had everyone introduce themselves without saying what they do. And I can't even tell you how many people introduced themselves simply as their name and nothing else. So the question that I would like to support you in answering today is, who are you really? Who are you really? And how do we not just identify the bigger you that is beyond what you do, beyond how much money you make, beyond your physical body, beyond the external, and connect with the real you? It's so interesting in our culture. We ask people what they do. I really identify with how they introduce themselves in Australia. They don't ask you what you do when you meet someone. They say, or they ask, excuse me, what kind of person are you? But if you ask someone, especially in the United States, they're going to have a hard time answering that question. Or if you ask them, who is Dustin? Without talking about what he does for a job. When it comes to reaching your goals, being better, right? Raise your hand if you're here to be better, right? Yes, absolutely. Right? In order for that to happen sustainably, there has to be alignment between your subconscious beliefs and your conscious desires. Otherwise, my health and fitness people, raise your hand. Right, great. Unfortunately, the statistics show that you are roughly about 90% likely to return to what? Your former level of behavior once the coaching, the accountability, or the program, right, the structure is removed. Why? Because the software is still the same. The identity and the belief system of the person is still the same. Right? And so my goal for you today is to optimize for this. Because this, right, your conscious mind, that's connected to what you know. But your subconscious mind is connected to who you are, your identity. And you cannot outperform your identity. There is no way around that. And so my desire today is to help you upgrade that. But first, what are beliefs? A belief is just your current truth. A belief by virtue is that which is true. And remember, I mentioned every person in here has a core belief that what? That holds you back from optimizing and performing at your best. Right? For some of you in here, it's not okay to fail. It's not okay to make mistakes. It's not okay to be vulnerable. It's not okay to have my own needs. It's not okay to speak my truth. Raise your hand if any of what I just mentioned resonates with you. It's not okay to be weak. Right? Because if so, I might get made fun of. I might be taken advantage of. I can't promise that we're going to identify that belief today, but I can promise progress, if only just a little bit, which I think is a start. So, what we're going to try to accomplish today is to create congruence or harmony between your subconscious beliefs and your conscious desires, right? Such that you become a match for your goals and we remove resistance, right? Statistics show that, right, who in here made New Year's resolutions? Raise your hand. That's it? I saw like 3 people raise their hands. Come on now. People are in here to grow.
Not making
one is growing.
Not making.
If you never complete them.
Not making one is growing, especially when your life has been dominated by the need to be better all the time. That is true, right? And therein lies the paradox that the ego has a very hard time accepting. That's another story. So resistance happens when our beliefs and our desires don't align. Right? Come March 1st, right, almost 2 months ago, 90%, 92% of people who set New Year's resolutions are not on track to accomplish them. Why? Why is that? It's not because they don't want it bad enough. It's not because they're not willing to put in the work, blah, 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 blah. All that is external, right? It has everything to do with what is going on in here and up here. This is the formula. If you want a formula for accomplishing anything, manifesting any result in your life, that is it, right? Our beliefs dictate what we think about all day, every day, which determines our emotions, our attitude, our energy, how we feel. How we feel, our attitude, our energy, that's what determines our actions and our decisions. And I don't think I need to say this, but I will. That gets us every single one of our results. Now, most coaching focuses on what? This, right here. Let's get you better results. Right, how do we do that? Optimize for behavior, but we can't optimize for a behavior at the level of, someone right here. Someone said it. Correct, at the level of behavior. So if you want to experience a shift in your results, you have to experience a shift in your beliefs first and your identity. So when it comes to, if this is a little woo-woo for you, just sub out accomplishing your goals, right? Achieving your dreams, whatever works for you, it's all the same. It's ultimately when your desires and your beliefs are a match, right? Resistance is removed and we accelerate. There are 3 ways that we can accomplish change: increasing in self-awareness, vulnerability, and new committed action. Awareness, I would suggest, is the first step. I already spoke into this a little bit, but what we're looking to do here is dig deeper than the conscious mind, which is connected to what we say and what we know, and optimize for this, right? Because it's our subconscious mind that dictates what we do. Most people know that they need to go to the gym more. Most people know that they need to eat healthier, but why don't they do it? It's not accountability or a lack thereof. It's not because of the kids. Right? That's just an excuse. Right? The reality is it's all built off who we be, which is why people are rarely what they say, but they're always what they do. So, if there's a gap between what you say you want and what you do, it's because there's a lack of congruence and your current beliefs are not a match for your desires. If we're being honest, I've been coaching for almost 10 years now. From my experience, there is something that everyone in this room wants on some inherent level. It's just that they are currently talking themselves out of it. They think, like, I'm not there yet, I'm not ready. Who's brave enough to raise your hand and admit that that's true for you? Right. On some inherent level, there is something that you deeply desire, right, in the future, but there's something getting in the way of you taking action on that thing now, whatever the story is. Right? So we have to start by increasing your conscious awareness if we hope to really have a breakthrough. That's why everybody's here, right? Growth, breakthrough. And the reason why that's so important is because what we are aware of, we're in control of, but what we're unaware of is in control of us. again, written all over these pages, right? Going to the gym, being self-disciplined, ripped, respected, right? That can be incredible freedom, and it can also be a prison if you're not aware of what's actually driving it. So in order to break through our self-limiting beliefs, that which is holding us back, because let's be real, we all have them, and if you say otherwise, I don't believe you. Respectfully, of course. Right? We have to become aware of them first. Therein lies the exercise that we're about to do called the belief shift. So you should have a piece of paper in front of you that is numbered, I think, 1 to 47. Yes? Does everybody have that piece of paper in front of them? Does anybody not? Raise your hand. Awesome. Everyone has it. Fantastic. Has anyone ever done a word association exercise in here? I know. Well, yes, you have. So I say pizza, you say pepperoni, that type of thing, right? I say sunshine, you say suntan or sunburn, right? So we're going to do that. We're going to do a word association exercise, and we're going to use this half-second rule, meaning I'm going to go kind of fast. And the reason for that is because I don't actually want you to think about it. Again, your conscious mind is connected to what you know. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in what's in your subconscious. So we're going to go relatively quickly. I do not want you to think about it. I want you to go with your first gut reaction. Do not give thought or pay attention to whether it's positive or negative, right? So we want to remove judgment. There is no judgment. There is just what is, right? What is. So as best as you possibly can, please don't judge whatever comes up for you. If you do, you'll fall behind, right? So just write down 1, maybe 2 words as it relates to the different categories that we'll be going through. Again, pizza, pepperoni, right? Monday, bad, hard, whatever it is. Whatever it is for you. Any questions about the instructions? Nope, fairly self-explanatory. Awesome. Again, I'm going to go relatively quickly here. What is your belief about beliefs? What is your belief about life? What is your belief about relationships? What is your belief about business? What is your belief about intimacy? What is your belief about food? What is your belief about truth? What is your belief about wealth? What is your belief about sex? What is your belief about God? What is your belief about love? What is your belief about spirituality? What is your belief about fun? What is your belief about money? What is your belief about family? What is your belief about religion? What is your belief about confidence? What is your belief about health? What is your belief about communication? What is your belief about personal development? What is your belief about meditation? What is your belief about your parents? What is your belief about change? What is your belief about failure? What is your belief about the universe? What is your belief about your past? What is your belief about people? What is your belief about friendships? What is your belief about women? What is your belief about marketing? What is your belief about vulnerability? What is your belief about fitness? What is your belief about men? What is your belief about death? What is your belief about self-care? What is your belief about time? What is your belief about business? What is your belief about purpose? What is your belief about success? What is your belief about leadership? What is your belief about yourself? On the back of that page, or at the bottom of the second page, what was that experience like for you? What, if any, observations did you have? Was there anything that surprised you, stood out to you? Question?
Comment.
Yep.
Everything came very easy.
Awesome.
So the words came right away.
Awesome. Yeah. Your subconscious knows. Has for a long time.
Exact opposite. I didn't catch any of it. My brain doesn't want to slow down enough.
Thank you for your honesty.
Yeah, I was the same. I drew blanks for a lot of them.
Right. It's oftentimes scary how much the ego gets in the way, isn't it? Right. Yeah, question.
I thought some were really, really easy.
Sure.
Some were like, I couldn't even think of anything.
Yeah.
Like I have like 4 blank ones.
Yeah. Oftentimes indicating that there's like a block there. Right.
Like I need to think. That's not enough time. I need more time to come up with the reason.
But then we bring online what? Our conscious mind.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. See, the fact that there was a block there is actually more important, despite the fact that like you didn't complete it. It's actually more important than you sitting down and completing it. See what I mean? Right. It just, there's nothing, again, there's no judgment around it. There's nothing good, bad, right, or wrong about it. It's just what shows up. Right. So it's just pointing us in the direction of growth. That's all it is. But thank you for sharing. Anyone else willing to share their observations, what came up for them, if there was anything that surprised you, please.
I noticed that a lot of my answers seem redundant.
Sure. Yep.
And not deep at all, just one word.
Yep.
Pretty superficial.
Sure. Anybody notice like a recurring theme? For example, say around business, success, money. Anybody? Right? There were recurring themes that showed up? Absolutely. Right. Because whether or not we think about it, our relationship to a lot of things in life, money, love, right, stems from what? It stems from our parents, our upbringing was inherited. Right? So going back to what I said at the very beginning, most people in here, right, free will is an illusion. So, okay, how do we rewire? Now that we've identified your beliefs around these various facets of your life, how do we actually rewire them? What's the process? I imagine that some of you in here are not going to like to hear this. I certainly didn't when I first started meditating because I was like, this is so unproductive. I could be doing so many other things right now, yet I'm just like sitting here being with my thoughts. Well, any good coach is going to invariably teach the importance of non-action action. Put contextually for my fitness people in the back, when do muscles grow? They don't grow when you're in the gym, do they? Bingo, they grow at rest. Non-action action, which is why sleep is, I used to coach a lot of bodybuilders. Sleep is arguably one of the most important parts of training, yes? Right. Optimizing for your sleep, getting good sleep. So, my invitation is to embrace meditation where we establish the belief that we want. Right? So, if you're trying to, say as an example, a very tangible, practical example, if you're trying to create a 7-figure business, right? The belief that I want, this is just an example, is I'm a 7-figure CEO. Right. Then we're going to create positive references until you feel it. What does this look like? This looks like, when was a time in your life where you felt the most confident? Or where you were succeeding in a way that things just felt easy? Or where you were able to utilize your gifts in a way that was incredibly impactful. So you bring that time, that period to mind, because when we do that, what happens inside of the body, right? We feel the emotions connected to that experience. Right? And if you're doubting whether or not I'm saying, your brain, how many people in here have ever dreamed about winning the lottery? Everybody in here, come on, it's so fun. Like, no? It is so fun to talk about, like, what would you do with the money? You're like, I'd buy a jet. Wait, no, I wouldn't buy a jet. I would hire a financial advisor. Let's be smart. Your brain doesn't actually know the difference between you imagining that you've won the lottery and you actually winning it. That's not how the subconscious mind works. So, once we've created a positive reference and we feel it inside of our body, we're going to create an I am statement. Right? I am a powerful, courageous, authentic 7-figure CEO. Excuse me. And then we're going to take actions that support the new I am statement. One of the reasons that people do not grow as quickly as they would like is they take action from the space of who they are in this moment as opposed to who they are committed to becoming. And what would that person do? What would that person do? How would that person invest? How would that person take risks? We oftentimes think that, like, oh, once I get there, then I will take that risk or make that big scary investment or that decision. That's not how that works. That's not how change really happens. If this, then that rarely works sustainably. We have to become who we are seeking to be right now, despite the discomfort. So, evidence reframing, by the way, this presentation was put together years ago. Dustin. Because we all have references for why our life is the way that it is right now, yes? Whether you're aware of it or not, you do. So, if the story that you have for why you're not where you are is, well, I was bullied in school, or I was made fun of, right? We can reframe our past experience and create a new perspective, a new, more empowering perspective. For example, he was hurting inside. My parents were broke. They did not learn about business or about financial literacy. They cheated on me. They were unable to speak their truth. They abandoned me. They were abandoned. You get where I'm going with this, right? Because if we hope to create a different perspective, right, shifting it is key. And it's important to remember, and this is the power of meditation, right? There's your perspective, but there's all these other perspectives. When it comes to emotional intelligence, and they've determined that so much of people's success comes down to what? EQ? Yes, anybody aware of that? Yeah, I'm sure you've probably heard that. EQ, in many ways, comes down to being able to hold what's referred to as dual awareness. Simultaneously holding two opposing views while giving both equal weight and seeing the truth in both sides. Politics reveals people very quickly in this matter because political party affiliation has become our new favorite form of dualistic thinking. Not to get political. That's a joke. Anyway, right? But there's the perspective of the other person, right? Who you were in the experience with. A third person who was a witness to it. Your higher self, for example, right? This needs to happen in order for my soul to evolve, for my true self to emerge, or in more simplistic language, for me to be a better person. Right? For me to grow, for me to learn, for me to evolve. So in changing who we are, right, we have the original belief that holds us back, which some of you identified today, I imagine, in the exercise, yes or yes, right? How many of you were surprised by something that you wrote down? It always happens, right? Which creates an attitude, right? How we feel, and that creates action, decision-making, which gets all of our results, right? So if we have a self-limiting belief, which everyone in this room has on some level, whether you're aware of it or not, right? That creates an attitude, and it moves forward into creating the life that we have. So the antidote for this is the new, more empowering belief, I will succeed, right? Which creates a positive attitude. The result is coming. It's on its way, right? I love using fitness examples, not to be redundant, right? But if I go to the gym, right, and I'm consistent when it comes to going to the gym, it's not a matter of if I build muscle, it's just a matter of what? It's just a matter of when. Right? That positive attitude, that anticipatory attitude, that creates consistent, continual action, which creates small wins, which eventually creates big wins. Nobody will pay me what I'm worth. Well, that kind of sucks. That's discouraging, right? So what do? You fail to offer the product, the new service, launch the business, raise your prices. A lot of that going on lately with inflation, right? So you're stuck making the same income or just treading water for a lot of people. The new belief, people really need this right now. It will change lives, which causes you to produce the new product, and you generate more income and impact more people. Right? A great way to go about this is to reverse engineer it. Begin with the end in mind. What's the result that you want? What is the corresponding belief that you need to adopt in order for you to create that result? So if you're struggling with the belief, just what's the result that I want? And then work backwards from there. I'm a big proponent that every single person, including every single person in this room, is just scratching the surface of their potential. So how do we unlock more of your potential? We create a vision that far surpasses where you are in this moment, what you are currently accomplishing in this moment. Right? It's not about indiscriminate action taking. It's not about more for the sake of more. It's about purpose and impact and realizing our God-given potential. So what is the result that you want to accomplish? For the next minute, find a partner and share what is a big, if we fast forward to the end of 2025, so call it 8 months, it's a good amount of time. What is the one goal that if you accomplished this year would make 2025 an incredible year for you? Would make 2025 a huge success if you were to accomplish it. So for the next minute or 2 minutes, find a partner at your table across from you. Share what that big, scary goal is for you and why it's so important to you, and then you can switch. So choose a partner. of time. Thank you very much. Absolutely. Good to meet you. What's your name? Mark. Mark. Nice to meet you, Jake. Have a good one. If you haven't switched, switch partners. Bring that to a close. Stopping there. Bringing that to a close and stopping there. Ooh. Real quick, would anybody be willing to share what their goal was? What their goal is? Go ahead.
We're in the process of building 2 gyms right now with Nick and JP. And those get done by the end of the year. That would certainly make 2025 pretty special.
Awesome. Love that goal. Super exciting. Anyone else? Yeah.
Developing a training that's a safe place to help people excel in the roofing arena at our workplace.
Awesome. Love that. Making people better.
I have two. To get BLG to a certain run rate per month as far as MRR, not for me, but to bring more people on board and make more impact in our community. And then I was telling Sam I'd love to get this to where we're doing this twice a month.
Yeah.
And this place is packed. We have a wait list.
Awesome. Great goal. So, 3-part manifestation process or goal achievement process, whatever you'd like to call it, is starting by who you need to be. Who you need to be, first and foremost. If you're committed to being a 7-figure CEO, how does a 7-figure CEO act, carry themselves, take risks, delegate? What's their decision-making like? And becoming that person now. What do you need to believe? And then, finally, what do you need to do? We typically start here. We typically start here. When in reality, we need to start here. This is just, again, a re-invitation in your meditation. I encourage this for all of you, by the way. Meditation has been shown to actually decrease the size of our amygdala, the part of our brain that is connected to fight or flight. So if you're committed to becoming better, that's going to mean, that you are committed to continuous risk-taking over time, yes? Right? In order to grow, we have to interrupt the status quo, period. If that is going to happen, we got to take risks. So if you're going to increase your capacity or resiliency to take risks, I'm telling you right now, this is going to be your secret sauce, point blank. Right? In the process of meditation, right, environment is key. Different place, different pace often results in a new and different perspective. Taking a different action or experience. I used to be part of like the rise and grind crowd, and it worked. But raise your hand if you found out that it works until it doesn't. Right? Yeah, it works until it doesn't. Until you have kids, or until you're burnt out, or until your spouse starts to resent you because you work too much, right? Or all three, yeah, right? Or you just quite simply can't relax, right? Which was me a long time ago. I'm on vacation. I should be relaxing, and I am, but why don't I feel relaxed? Reminders and affirmations, these goes back to your I am statements. And then mentors you respect, people like Dustin, coming to experiences like this. Right? If we create an affirmation, right, it often invites a different action, a new perspective. Right? Meditation is a part of that process, which allows us to ultimately release emotions, because raise your hand if you're aware of the fact that it's emotions that really hold us back. Right? Yeah, 100%. Right? If you're familiar with the process of becoming competent at something, in the process of moving through unconscious incompetence, right, where we're aware of the skill that we need to have, but we're not yet proficient at it, how do we typically feel in that stage? When you're not good at something. Dustin, you went golfing. How did you feel?
Oh, man.
Right?
Yeah, incompetent.
Yeah, right. Frustrated.
Yeah.
Right? Discouraged. Right? And that's what prevents us from going back, right? Going back to the golf course, going back to the gym, continuing on with the diet. 75 hard. Anyone in here? So step one, establish the belief that you want. Create those positive references until you feel it. Establish that I am statement, like who am I really? Take actions that support that new I am statement. And that's it. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
What would you say to somebody who wants to start meditating
Mhm.
and has no practice in doing it right now? Where do they start?
Great question. To set yourself up to win, to be consistent with it, I would bake it into your morning routine. Has anyone ever read The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg in here? Fantastic book if you haven't read it. But every single habit is formed by three things. Cue, right? So there's a cue, routine, and then reward. That's the best way to create a new habit. So the best way for you to adopt, say, meditation as a practice, for me, the cue is I'm awake. That kicks off my morning routine, right? I'm awake, and then I immediately hop into my morning routine, cold shower, brush my teeth, make my bed, meditate, and then the key being I wait until after my morning routine is done to either have coffee, breakfast, tea, morning smoothie, whatever your reward of choice is. So I would just bake it into your morning routine and start with 10 minutes. Start with 10 minutes if you don't have an active meditation practice. Again, it allows us to practice mindfulness, which will increase emotional intelligence and allow us to operate in dual awareness. This will improve your marriage, your partnership, almost faster than anything else outside of like consistent communication with your partner. It will. Because in the middle of an argument, and if you saw Carrie and I argue, you would laugh because it's like, is that mine? Like, is that mine to take responsibility for, or are like you being unreasonable right now? It's like this constant like, back and forth, not of arguing, but of like kind of sussing. What's that? Your shit. Right, yeah. Yes, sussing out like what's mine, what's yours. It's like this diagnostic process. Not an argument at all. But start with 10 minutes and elevate from there. But if you struggle with anxiety, if you struggle with depression, if you're wanting a better, more fulfilling marriage, that is a more intelligent one, where you fight fair, then it'll be huge for you. New downloads and inspiration for business ideas. Yes.
I had a real hard time just sitting still. Meditation was something that I just could not wrap my head around.
Yep.
And there are so many tools. I mean, this thing it can be our downfall, but it can also be a great tool if we use it right.
Yep.
There's an app called the Pause app.
Yep. Great app.
And I use that all the time. It's really helped.
Yep.
It's just like it guides you through it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So the key with meditation is just like working out. Just get started.
For sure.
And just try to be still. I mean, 10 minutes is great.
Yeah.
I could not do 10 minutes when I first started.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Monkey brain.
The app was
Blah, 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 blah.
3 minutes, 5 minutes, and
Yeah.
build up. Now I can do 15, 20,
Sure.
whatever.
Yep.
But it takes time for some people. Like I am hyperactive.
Yep.
And my brain is even more so.
Yep. The ego hides in the mind. Most of the men I coach are incredibly successful when it comes to business, and yet the thing that escapes them is that they don't know peace. A lot of that has to do with these lovely little things right here, because the longer you are on these things, the more you are operating in a sympathetic nervous system state, which is just a fancy way of saying fight or flight, which over years, if not decades for some people, you then get addicted to stress. So in order to get things done, what do you have to do? You have to stress yourself out. Even if you haven't connected to that, you have to stress yourself out to get things done, because now you're addicted to stress. And if that isn't the source of a lot of loneliness and emptiness and discouragement for men who are highly successful and rich in money but poor in happiness, I don't know what is. The largest demographic for suicide in the United States is men between the ages of 18 and 45. There's a big reason for that. We are not taught contemplative practices, which in the end we find are oftentimes the most important ones, right? Because the most important work is soul work. It really is. We're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I'm not telling you to get rid of your goals. There's a reason the whole training is kind of focused on goal setting. Any other questions, observations? Yeah.
I have a weird question.
Yep.
I remember you said that you're supposed to follow your belief, like have a belief and then
Yep.
not a negative one,
Yep.
I remember one of the examples you put on there was people need this product.
Yeah.
What if your belief is fundamentally wrong? What if nobody needs it? How do you know you're right?
How do you know you're right?
Yeah.
Well, two of the big primary reasons that people fail in business is, number one, they have a bad idea and they're just unwilling to admit it. So I will say that, right? We want to establish market message match, right? Like that there's actually a need for what you're offering. And then the other reason is just the founder, right? On an individual level, they're not optimized for delegation, effective decision making. They haven't overcome their unconscious limiting beliefs, which then cause them to self-sabotage, et cetera, et cetera. So how do you know if you have a bad idea? Nobody's going to want it. Right? Nobody's going to want it. And that'll tell you all you need to know. The question is whether or not are you fluid enough within yourself and therefore your nervous system to then acknowledge, hey, you know what? Despite the fact that there's like a death here, I get to admit that I had a bad idea. Nobody wants it. And so move on or pivot. Right? The first business the last healthcare technology startup I was a part of before I went into coaching, we started off as a messaging application for dietitians. The unfortunate reality is that dietitians make no money, at least most dietitians. And so we found out very quickly, there's not money to be made here. And so we then decided to pivot into selling it to healthcare practices who have lots of money. and we blew up. But it took like dying to this, kind of attachment to our original idea, because attachment is arguably the highest form of suffering. So we had to become detached, which meditation is a great practice for becoming unattached, by the way. And then pivot, because we recognized that we had a bad idea. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's like,
Awesome.
I think that's just the hardest thing for me is like, sometimes like I think it's a really cool idea, and I'm like, is it though? Like,
Yeah.
I overthink everything. Like, I always like I always think someone else's, like try to think about someone else's perspective.
Yep.
Sometimes I don't know when, like,
The best way to figure out whether or not it's a good idea is to try and sell it.
okay.
And then it becomes a question of like, do I have a good idea? Or am I just bad at selling? Or am I just bad at selling, right? Because this over here is just skill set optimization. You can learn how to become good at sales. It just takes practice and repetition. Any other observations, questions?
All right, well, give it up for Jake, everybody. Just leave it right there. Great job, brother. Thank you. Well, I don't know about you guys, but every time I get a moment to spend with Jake, there's always at least one thought that I'm left with, and I'm just like, damn, like I need to think through that. So, did anybody have a moment where you felt that way today? Head nods. Good. Good. Yeah, for sure.
Reinforcing what was already known.
Good. Good. So I'll share a real short story, and then we'll transition into when we're doing this thing next time and who's going to be speaking. So in one of my initial conversations with Jake, and I was unpacking these thoughts and all this wisdom that Jake has, it was really wrestling with my soul, because it was against what the world says, which is just more. You need more. You have to do more. And I remember I was on a walk, and I'm like, Jake, what does success look like? Like, when guys work with you, what does it look like on the other side? And most of us go and we get coaching, and the coaching is more. We grow the business, we make it bigger, we make our relationship better, whatever. And Jake goes, a lot of times guys sell a business, they get into nonprofit, they find out that they actually love something, and that turns into a hobby. And I'll tell you what, my immediate reaction, like my soul just jerked and was resistant to it. And I'm like, fuck that. Sell a business? I need 5. I need more chaos in my life. And ironically, it was actually in a conversation with Lloyd and Nick as I was watching them and their businesses grow, and something Lloyd shared with me, and he's like, when we get the one to this, we'll just put all the rest on autopilot and just focus on the one thing. And I was like, okay. And then I looked at my own life, and I'm like, I'm here spearheading 2 businesses as the CEO, and this one I love. This one I have so much alignment with, and this one I hate, and I resent. And although it was a great business and it does amazing things for the community, I was not in alignment with it. And they were both in the same building, and the culture in both businesses was wildly different. And so I had to have a conversation with myself and with God and with my wife and say, hey, we're done. And this is going to be scary, because it's going to have a huge impact on our income for a period of time. But I'll tell you what, when we made that shift and let it go, I was also on another walk. I'm talking to God, and I'm like, man, if this was a year ago, I wouldn't be having this conversation. I wouldn't be feeling this good. But I feel like for the first time in over a decade, my soul's in alignment with this. And over the last 3 months, when I've been aligned with what I'm doing, I haven't been selling anybody anything. I've been enrolling them in what we do. And we've done such a great job. Thank you, Jarvis, Heather, and the rest of our team around the world. We're making such a big impact in community and business and leaders just like yourself. And I'll tell you what, and Jarvis gets to hear this because he gets to hear my sales calls or enrollment calls. There's so much energy, and there's just so much conviction. They feel it. And so, and I didn't get your name, but Katina, your son, and when you, huh? Okay, Alex. Yes, now I remember. When you is this product good? When you feel it here and you enroll people in what it is, that's when you know. And so I would say to any of you guys that are struggling with this thought of more, less is more, and that's the season that I'm in right now. So, great stuff, Jake. I really appreciate you sharing with everybody today. Two quick things, and I'll let you guys get out of here. One, I love to see